Hello, all. For those that don't know me, Christian Barnes, Better Homes and Gardens, Kansas City Homes. We need to get real for just a minute and have a conversation, like a real conversation. Why are we still talking about shared compensation? And why are we talking about it in the manner in which we are talking about it? And you all know what I'm talking about. We are on the cusp of some massive industry changes. And I think there's one thing that we can all agree on, and that is we're all headed and need to head in the same direction. Although it feels like we've got some people on the fast track and others that are taking what I'm going to call the scenic route to get there. And those on that scenic route are being quite obnoxious about it online. If you go to, and I don't suggest doing it, go to social media, go to some of these industry specific Facebook groups, and the conversation is insane. It's more than chatter, it's actually at a fever pitch. And unfortunately, a lot of it is coming off as being grossly self-serving to us as agents and real estate professionals versus what is in the best interest of our sellers and our buyers in transactions moving forward. And it feels like the people that are on the scenic route are really trying to hold on to a system that, yes, has it worked for a very long time? Did it work well? Absolutely. But with all systems that have been in place for a long time, sometimes some complacency can come along with that. And right now we have to change. We have to evolve. And one of the ways that we have to evolve is rethinking our expectation and conversation around shared compensation. There are some markets, and I'm very proud that the market that I'm in, Kansas City, we are moving towards a system where it's not that we're not going to offer buyer agent compensation. We're not going to offer it on the upfront. It is now going to be a conversation that we look at when we have an offer in front of the seller and we have a buyer that is requesting, and there are so many benefits to a buyer having a buyer agent represent them in a transaction. And but the conversation that we're having with sellers is that compensation is going to be negotiated at the time of the offer instead of us pre-negotiating it. So we're moving that negotiation where it happens in the transaction. And I think there's a big misunderstanding that markets like ours that are saying we're not offering buyer agent compensation on the upfront. There's a big difference between not offering it on the upfront and not having the conversation with our sellers on the upfront to prepare them to pay buyer agent compensation. That conversation is still happening, and it is going to still happen. We are still going to talk about the benefits of a buyer being represented. And I think there is a gross misunderstanding between companies and markets where buyer agent compensation isn't going to be offered on the upfront and negotiated in a contract, and simply not sitting down with sellers and explaining the process to them, explaining the changes in where this is going to be negotiated in the contract. And that is a very distinct difference. So I would invite you all to really dig in and look at how you can change the conversations that you're having with sellers when you're at the kitchen table. And honestly, I think not offering buyer agent compensation on the upfront not only makes it a whole lot easier for us as practitioners in terms of where do we advertise it. We start diving into some fair housing issues, a lot of fair housing issues, perceived discrimination, a lot of worry around that, about communicating that upfront buyer agent compensation. We don't have to worry about that. If we're negotiating shared compensation at the time of the offer, looking at it as the whole financial package for our seller, it not only takes all that worry off the plate for us as industry professionals, but it also makes more logical sense to our seller. It's just like how we negotiate inspection-related repair items or credits in lieu of inspection or seller-paid closing costs for the buyer. It's that same conversation that we have been having for years and years with sellers about focusing them on their net. What are they actually walking away from the closing table with? To me, that conversation is much easier when we actually have an offer on the table and we can talk in real numbers versus having that conversation on the upfront when we're there to list their house and the numbers aren't certain. The numbers are our best projection, and we're using the knowledge and intelligence that we have in the real estate world to help drill into those numbers, but they're not certain and they aren't known. So I just think we're making this big hullabaloo about buyer agent compensation. And it's not that it isn't going to be offered, it's where it's going to be offered and how it's going to be offered. And so I would ask you to kind of tone down the chatter a little bit, take a breath, think about this logically, and you know, practice, practice, practice the conversations that you're going to have with people at their kitchen table when you're eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly with them. And I think that you are going to find that the conversation around buyer agent compensation is going to be much more logical and much more simple for you to have moving forward if we take buyer agent compensation being decided on the upfront out of the equation. So thanks for watching this video and my little tangent here. Lots more to come, and check out some of the other ones in our video library. Hope you like them. Would love your feedback. If you're inside the industry, outside the industry, would love to hear what questions you have. What can I answer? I'll try to do some videos answering some questions that I've received thus far. So have a good one. Talk to you soon.